Listen closely. Every time someone attacks you, verbally, socially, or politically, they're offering you a gift. Not of pain, but of power. Weak men panic, they defend, they crumble. Strong men sharpen, they grow colder, sharper, untouchable. The Machiavellian mind knows this truth. Attacks are not walls, they are doors. Doors that open straight into respect if you have the discipline to walk through them. An insult is nothing but free fuel. A betrayal is nothing but a map showing you where weakness hides. A humiliation. It's a stage they built for you, so you can rise higher than they ever imagined. But here's the secret. You don't fight for respect. You force it by refusing to be shaken. When you stand calm, when you stand cold, when you stand still, the attacker breaks before you do, and in their collapse, you rise. This is the one move that flips every attempt to wound you into pure dominance. Before we go deeper, comment this right now. I turn attacks into weapons. Let's begin. Power is never about what's true. Power is about what is seen. And in the arena of perception, your response to an attack writes the story of who you are. If you react with anger, you look weak. If you react with fear, you look broken. If you react with excuses, you look guilty. But if you react with nothing, with silence, with stillness, with that cold stare that says, I am unshaken, you become untouchable. That's the Machiavellian move. You don't fight on their level, you let them choke on their own performance. Every attacker expects resistance. They expect you to defend, to bleed, to show pain. That's why silence crushes them. It leaves them drowning in their own noise. Understand this. In dark psychology, the strongest weapon is not attack. It's control. Control over your face, your tone, your body. When you master control, you broadcast a signal louder than any words. I cannot be broken. And people respect what they cannot break. Even enemies respect it. Even those who envy you begin to tread carefully because they realize you do not flinch. You do not give them the satisfaction. You are carved from stone. Think of the great rulers, the warlords, the kings who built empires. Did they scream when insulted? Did they explain themselves to the mob? Number. They let silence burn deeper than words. They let stillness echo louder than rage. They forced the world to bend to their frame. And here's the secret most men never grasp. The crowd doesn't remember who threw the insult. They remember who walked away looking unshaken. The one who looks unshaken always wins. This is why you must train yourself like iron. Every insult, every attack, every betrayal. These are not wounds, they are weights. And when you carry them with calm, you grow heavier, stronger, more unmovable. That is how you build a presence so cold, so immovable, that even your enemies bow without realizing it. Respect is not begged for, it's not negotiated. Respect is taken through composure, through stillness, through the refusal to collapse under pressure. And when you master this law of perception, every attack thrown at you becomes another brick in the fortress of your dominance. Comment this right now. I cannot be broken. Let's move deeper. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not retreat. Silence is the predator's weapon, the move that turns fear into respect without lifting a finger. The masses cannot stand silence. They fear it. They crave noise, reactions, explosions, drama. They want you to bleed publicly so they can feast on it. That's why attackers push you. They want the display. But here's where you flip the entire game. You give them nothing. Imagine this. Someone throws an insult at you in front of others. Most men would rush to fire back, to explain, to prove their worth. But the Machiavellian man? He just stares. Calm. Expressionless. A faint smirk, maybe. And that silence screams louder than any comeback ever could, because it leaves the attacker suspended in their own weakness, exposed, flailing, choking on the silence you control. Understand this. Predators don't bark, they stalk, they wait, they let the prey wear itself out. Every second you stay silent, the attacker's power bleeds away. The crowd feels it. Their words bounce off you and fall flat, echoing with no weight. And soon, all eyes shift, not to them, but to you. Because the one who controls the silence controls the battlefield. Machiavelli himself wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." And silence, when wielded with precision, creates fear. Not the kind of fear that makes people avoid you, but the deeper, more dangerous kind. The fear of the unknown, the fear of the man who does not reveal his hand, the fear of the wolf in the shadows. That's why you must master silence as a psychological weapon. In dark psychology, silence is humiliation disguised as calm. It tells the world, your attack is beneath me. Your words don't reach me. You do not exist on my level. And here's the irony. The more you stay silent, the louder they get. The louder they get, the weaker they look. The weaker they look, the more respect flows toward you. That's the predator's silence, letting them destroy themselves while you rise without effort. So remember this, every time someone attacks, you have a choice. React and give them the show they want, or stay silent and become the show they can't forget. The one who holds silence commands the stage. The one who breaks it loses. Comment this right now, my silence is power. Because the predator doesn't need to roar. The world already knows he's watching. Let's continue. Every attack is a mirror. Most men never realize it, but when someone comes at you, an insult, a betrayal, a smear, they are not showing your weakness. They are showing their own. Think carefully. An insult reveals what bothers them. A betrayal reveals what they fear losing. A smear reveals where they feel inferior. When people strike, they always leave fingerprints. And a Machiavellian mind reads those fingerprints like a map. That's why you never take attacks personally. To take it personally is to waste the gift. You don't rage, you don't cry, you don't beg, you analyze, you study. You let their attack become a reflection, exposing who they really are. The man who can read enemies like a mirror cannot be surprised, cannot be blindsided. He sees the weakness before it shows itself in action. This is dark psychology in its purest form. You use the attack as data. You strip away the noise and ask, why now? Why this angle? Why this target? Every move they make against you carries information. Information is power, and power belongs to the man who can stay calm enough to extract it. Here's the brutal truth. Enemies are your greatest teachers. Allies will comfort you, flatter you, make you soft. Enemies sharpen you. They reveal the cracks you didn't see. They reveal the envy that surrounds you. They reveal the fears you provoke just by existing. Attacks are evidence that you're striking a nerve in the world. So the next time someone lashes out, don't see it as pain. See it as proof. Proof that you matter. Proof that you're a threat. Proof that you occupy ground worth fighting for. And once you see it that way, you'll never respond with weakness again. You'll respond with cold observation and the silence of a man who already knows he has won. Because here's the thing, the crowd is watching, always. They may not understand strategy, but they feel energy. When you treat attacks as mirrors, the crowd sees you as untouchable. While your attacker thrashes in desperation, you stand calm, almost amused, as if you expected it all along. That calm is magnetic. That calm is respect. This is why the mirror of power is so dangerous. It flips their weapon back onto them. It exposes their fear, their envy, their desperation, and in doing so, it builds your image as the man above it all. The man who does not bend, the man who cannot be shaken. Comment this right now. Every attack reveals their weakness. Because once you see attacks for what they truly are, mirrors, you'll stop fearing them and start using them. Let's sharpen further. Power is not about strength. It's not about muscles. It's not even about money. Real power is control. Control over yourself first, then control over others. That's the hierarchy, that's the law, and the man who masters control becomes untouchable. Think about it. When someone attacks you, their goal is simple. They want to pull you out of yourself. They want you angry, defensive, emotional. Because once you're emotional, you're predictable. And once you're predictable, you're weak. That's the trap most men fall into. They hand over control to the one who provoked them, but the Machiavellian man flips the script. He knows the golden rule of dark psychology. He who controls his own reactions controls the battlefield. Picture a storm raging. Everyone else is screaming, panicking, running. But you, calm, silent, unshaken, become the anchor. The eye of the storm. People notice. People respect it, because control radiates authority. Even if you say nothing, even if you barely move, your composure forces the crowd to bend toward you. Machiavelli himself taught that appearances shape power more than reality. And the appearance of control, calm face, steady voice, still body, is more terrifying than any outburst of rage. Rage burns out. Control endures. In every argument, in every confrontation, the man who controls himself always controls the frame, and the one who controls the frame always wins. This is why discipline is non-negotiable. You must train your mind and body until no insult can move you, no betrayal can shake you, no humiliation can break you, because the moment you show they've touched you, they've won. But if you stay still, stay composed, stay sovereign, you turn their strike into submission. Understand this: attackers thrive on chaos. When you deny them chaos, when you meet fire with ice, you strangle their power at its root. You make them look unhinged while you look unshakable. And in that contrast, respect shifts. The crowd sees the difference, and respect flows to the man in control. Never forget, the ultimate dominance move is not to crush your enemy with force. It is to let them crush themselves while you remain unmoved. That is the law of control. That is the foundation of untouchable power. Comment this right now: control is my weapon. Because once you master control, every attack becomes another chance to show the world who really owns the game. Power isn't always about striking back. Sometimes it's about stepping back. Distance, space, separation. The weak man clings, he argues, he fights for scraps of attention. But the Machiavellian man knows, when you pull away, you control the frame. Because absence creates gravity. Think about it. When someone attacks you, they want to pull you into their world, into their noise, into their chaos. The moment you step in, you're trapped in their frame. But when you hold your distance, calm, cold, unreachable, you create a void, and the void pulls harder than any presence ever could. That's the paradox of distance. The less you chase, the more they crave. The less you respond, the more they obsess. The less you explain, the more they scramble to justify themselves. Distance is hunger, and you decide who starves. In dark psychology, distance is a silent punishment. You don't scream, you don't argue, you vanish, and your absence echoes louder than your presence ever did. They replay their attack in their mind 100 times. They second-guess, they question themselves, they wonder if they went too far. You don't give them closure, you give them silence and space, and that silence eats them alive. History proves it. The most feared leaders weren't always the loudest. They were the ones who stayed above, untouchable, distant. Their scarcity made their presence valuable. When they did speak, every word carried the weight of thunder. And why? Because they weren't always available. Their distance made them rare, and rarity breeds respect. Here's what most people will never understand. Constant reaction is cheap. Silence and distance are expensive. When you create distance, you raise your value. When you stay scarce, you force others to lean toward you. They think about you more when you're not there than when you are. That's the silent magnetism of power. But here's the warning. Distance must be deliberate, not desperate. It is not running. It is ruling. It is not escape. It is strategy. You pull back not because you're weak, but because you know scarcity bends respect. You create space because you want them to feel the cold of your absence. And when you return, you do it on your terms, never theirs. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, don't always strike back. Sometimes the deadliest strike is no strike at all, just distance, the kind of distance that reminds them you are untouchable. Comment this right now. My distance demands respect, because when you master distance, you don't chase power. Power chases you. Every man bleeds, every man suffers, but only a few know how to turn that pain into prestige. Weak men collapse under pain. They beg for pity, for comfort, for validation. But the Machiavellian man, he converts pain into reputation. He understands that scars don't make you fragile, they make you feared. Think about it. When the world sees you attacked, betrayed, humiliated, and yet you walk forward unbroken, your image becomes myth. People whisper, nothing moves him, nothing breaks him. Pain becomes proof of your resilience, and resilience is power. This is cold psychology. When your enemies see their weapons fail, their fear doubles. When allies see you rise from fire untouched, their respect triples. Pain stops being a weakness. It becomes branding, a symbol, a living reminder that you cannot be destroyed. Remember this, power is not avoiding pain, it's outlasting it. The more storms you endure without breaking, the more the world sees you as unshakable. That's why kings wear crowns of iron, not comfort. Prestige comes from the weight you carry without collapse. So don't hide your scars, don't cover your wounds. Let them see it all, then let them see you walk anyway. Because that image, that presence, that defiance in the face of pain builds a legend no enemy can erase. Comment this right now. My pain builds my power. Because prestige doesn't come from an easy life, it comes from surviving a hard one without bending. Fear is not your enemy. Fear is your ally. Fear is a weapon sharper than steel, if you know how to use it. Weak men try to be liked. They chase approval, they beg for smiles, they soften their edges to be accepted. But the Machiavellian man understands. Being liked is optional. Being feared is leverage. When people fear disappointing you, they respect your boundaries. When they fear crossing you, they obey your frame. Fear disciplines faster than kindness ever could. This is why Machiavelli said it is safer to be feared than loved, because fear guarantees control. But here's the key. True fear is not about threats or violence. It's about presence. It's about the aura you project when you show you cannot be shaken. The man who doesn't flinch, the man who doesn't explain, the man who carries himself with cold certainty, he radiates fear without speaking. And here's the paradox. People may whisper, they may resent, but deep down they respect it. Fear etches itself into memory. No one forgets the man they cannot move. So let go of the need to please. Stop chasing love from everyone. Instead, build the aura of inevitability. The aura that says, cross me and you lose. Stand with me and you win. That's the kind of fear that commands loyalty, respect, and obedience all at once. Comment this right now. Fear is my shield. Because when you wield fear wisely, you don't chase power. Power bends itself around you. There is a level above power, above respect, above fear. It's the aura of untouchability. This is when people stop testing you, when they no longer even consider attacking you because the cost is too high. They sense it before they even try. It's not about threats, it's not about force, it's about presence. The aura of untouchability is built through consistency. When you never break, when you never fold, when every attack against you fails, you build a reputation. And reputation is the armor kings wear long before they enter the battlefield. People whisper, "Don't cross him, it's a dead end." That whisper is more powerful than an army. Understand this. Untouchability is not isolation, it's elevation. You rise so far above petty games that engaging you feels impossible. You don't chase, you don't explain, you don't wrestle in the mud. You stay above, and that distance becomes a wall no enemy can scale. The world begins to treat you differently. Words bounce off you. Insults fade before they leave the mouth. Betrayals die before they're born. Why? Because no one risks a war they cannot win. That's the psychology of untouchability. You crush the idea before it even exists. This is the final layer of power, to not just defeat attacks, but to prevent them entirely, to make the very thought of challenging you feel like suicide. That is when respect transforms into reverence. Comment this right now: I am untouchable. Because when you reach untouchability, you don't just command the room, you command the air itself. You've walked through the fire. You've seen how every attack can be flipped, turned into fuel, into leverage, into respect. Now hear this clearly. The world will never stop testing you. The weak will throw insults. The envious will scheme. The cowards will whisper. But none of it matters, because you've learned the one Machiavellian move that makes you untouchable. You don't defend. You don't beg. You don't react. You convert. Every strike against you becomes proof of your strength. Every attempt to humiliate you becomes your stage. Every betrayal becomes your warning bell, guiding you to see enemies more clearly. And every time you refuse to break, your aura grows colder, harder, more feared. Respect is not given, it's taken. It's carved out of the silence you hold, the distance you create, the control you master. It's won when the crowd sees you stand unshaken while others collapse. That's how men become legends. That's how predators rise above prey. That's how you stop being touched, tested, or doubted and start being respected without a word. So from this day forward, remember, every attack is your weapon, every wound is your crown, every scar is your signal of power. That's the psychology of kings. That's the Machiavellian truth. Comment this right now. I rise through every attack. Stamp it into your mind. Write it in your blood. Live it every single day. And if you felt this truth, if this unlocked something inside you, then don't sit silent. Like this video, subscribe to Psycho Wisdom, and turn on the notifications so you never miss the next law of power. Because from now on, you don't just survive attacks, you turn them into respect. And the man who can do that cannot be stopped.